Tomb Raider 2018 came out a couple months back, and a lot of people were hoping that this film would be the best movie adaptation of a video game, but it wasn't received that well. The highest praise it got was that it was a passable action movie, but I'm wondering what could have been done to make it resonate with audiences more, to make it the movie they wanted it to be. Well, first, let's take a look at other action movies that did a better job, and what made them so great. In general, you'd find that it's a great story with interesting characters, although sometimes in action movies we can get past that if there's a lot of really good action and a plot that doesn't get in the way. But Tomb Raider doesn't have either, unfortunately. The story is slow and without depth, and the action scenes aren't good or frequent enough to save the movie. However, it definitely has signs of potential, and I'm going to go over the ways that this movie could have been the best video game adaptation ever made. So, the first part I'm going to go over is the start of the movie. Now, interestingly, you can see that the movie tries to add depth to the character of Lara Croft, because essentially, the first half an hour of the movie has no plot. It is just us following Lara on her daily life, and this part of the movie is really slow and only achieves a couple of things. It tells us Lara's father died and she's sad about it, and it drives her character to Asia to go and find a man to take her to find out what happened to her father. This half an hour of the movie is unnecessary and should have been cut. The movie should actually start with Lara in Asia and the scene with her asking a man to take her to the island where her father disappeared. This one scene already does everything the first half an hour of the movie did. It tells us Lara's father died and she's not over it and wants to find out what happened to him. From 30 minutes of boredom to a 5-minute scene that gets us straight into the action with all needed motivation. The second thing that gets in the way of this movie's potential is the exposition. Now, exposition itself isn't bad because every story uses it at some point to give information to the audience, but exposition needs to be done well. With Tomb Raider, it is just a montage with a voiceover of her father telling us that he went to the island with his friend and that the company he works for wants an artifact that will eventually end the world. But this is such a lazy way of doing things. This is more like a lecture than entertainment. An example of a film that does this right is Terminator. Kyle Reese gives us the exposition of the story in the middle of an action scene, which entertains the audience at the same time. Now, it doesn't have to be an action scene, but it has to be a scene where there is something of value given. In my opinion, Tomb Raider could have used this for more emotion. It's actually right there in front of us. Lara has these tapes of her father where he gives the exposition of the plot. These are the last remnants she has of her father, so why don't we show a scene of Lara on the boat being protective of these tapes and of her showing an emotional reaction to her father's voice. This way, we get the exposition needed for the plot, and we give the audience a scene to empathize with Lara's character. The final problem is with the emotional arc of the movie. Movies in general have a narrative arc and an emotional arc. For Terminator 2, the narrative arc is complete with them saving the world from Judgment Day, but the emotional arc is of John Connor saying goodbye to the machine that became a father figure to him. In Tomb Raider, the emotional arc should have been her getting over her father's death, but that's ruined when it's revealed that her father is still alive. This forces the movie to leave its emotional arc for the narrative one, and is all about saving the world. To fix this, I would have changed the plot to focus more on Lara's emotional journey and less on a big corporation trying to end the world. I would have Lara reach the island, meet her father's friend, and then explore the island to discover what happened to her father. This would then become a mystery with her finding clue after clue and eventually finding his body and discovering that his friend murdered him to keep him quiet about the corporation. This would then lead Lara to kill her father's friend, doing two things. On one hand, ending the narrative arc by saving the world, and on the other, completing the emotional arc by having Lara finish her father's job and avenging his death. This would end the story for her, and then at the end of the film, we would see her burying her father's body, showing that her journey has come to an end. By starting the story in the right place, disguising the exposition, and using the emotional core of the character as the focus of the movie, I think this could have been a much better film. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe for more videos like this.